nilikuwa nasema in my opinion hata apart from backlash, nilikuwa naona ni kama mtu yeye ataface a lot of pressure from inside ya kutaka kuwa perfect. Cause ile jina already tushampatia, so for instance hata kama shule ama as an grow up, juu hiyo jina naona ni kama ataface a lot of pressure ya kutaka ku
live up to that name.
Kuna ile unaita mtoto jina so that answer to that name. For instance unaita mtoto Baraka ama Amani kitu kama hiyo. But kuna ile ana feel too pressure ya kutaka kuwa perfect in my opinion.
Which is not bad.
Nderitu.
Which is not bad.
That's okay with you.
Which is wonderful. That is why we are calling on all firstborns to be named after Jesus, so that they can be role models. They can be an example of that great man called Jesus.
Okay.
And I think by doing this, is just preaching the gospel, because that is my call. My call is to preach the gospel in a different way. In a very, very different way, in every family of the world. And this is a calling. This is a calling. Let people not just blush me out and say, no, this is blasphemy, this is what, this is what. Just sit and think. Sit and think. I am not crazy. I am not mad. I have never been gone to Madare to maybe for not mentally sick. Excuse me, I'm sober. Don't think that I don't know what I'm doing. And again, kindly, if you don't have a son, and you are praying for a son, give that firstborn son Jesus. Give the first things to God. And that is why I have given my first boy to God by naming him after his
Jesus,
son, his son Jesus Christ. And I have not named, again I must say, I have not named him Christ. I have not named my son Christ. I have named my son Jesus, who was now the man on earth. But Christ is the heavenly word of Jesus.
Okay. Thank you. Wakili?
You know, he says that it is fine, but listening to also Sadiq, like he says, pertaining to the pressure, actually that is excessive high voltage pressure on that child because of basically expectations.
And the way we are cultured.
You might not be holy, you might not be perfect.
No, not Jesus.
With all that, so it will, on the other hand, in terms of his self-esteem, might actually go down and other things, and probably, unless he is going to really get so much massive support from the father. Otherwise, else without that, I'm telling you, it's going to be drastic.
And I'm glad Nderitu is here to clarify that to all the masses that are watching.
I'm ready for all. I'm ready for everything that will come on the way. And I really pray that my son will will emulate the role of Jesus Christ. That is my prayer. And that is why I've even given him that name. I cannot name him, for example, like a bad name, like my friend who said
Mapepo,
Makaburi. I cannot name my son Makaburi, of course. Or you can.
No,
of course.
No, mine is a nice name.
The best name that you can give your son is just one name, Jesus. But not Christ.
You know, someone here has a very interesting observation. Someone says Jesus is just a name, meaning God saves. If Jesus was born in Kenya, he could have been called Shege, Kamau, Mondi, Onyango, you know. But the reality is we cannot ignore the culture we live in. So my joy is that you're alive to the fact that it will come with a bit of pressure for both you, your family, and the son.
Anything that is good, anything that God has brought,
you're willing to live with it.
Is not so simple.
So
when things are, when like for example, this issue is just a big issue for people to understand, then know that there is something behind it. And know that it is not my mind. It is not just me, me Njoka, who has done this. It is with the help of God, help of my God. So he knows why I have done that.
And you know, Njoka, before we knew you as Baba Jesus, we knew you as Mandela ya Wanaume. How is that going?
It's going on very well.
It is,
very well.
I didn't hear you during when the men were drinking. Last week we had a lady here, a recovering alcoholic.
I went there and I gave Polly to those, widows and also widowers who are left. And there's a letter that we addressed to the United Nations, trying to say that alcohol and drug abuse should be declared an international disaster. Because it's not just not a Kenyan problem. It is not an Africa, it is a world problem. And this is like terrorism because it is really killing people.
It is.
It is really killing people and putting a lot of children in trouble. So, and I also wrote to my government that it is now important if all beers, for example, their prices are lowered down so that those people who are obsessed in drinking can drink healthy beer from the bars instead of drinking Shanga because that one is really killing people seriously. I am not advocating for people to drink, but I am also advocating for men to drink healthy beers if they must drink.
Okay, yes. I hear you. The final thing I wanted to run by you, because you're both men and you deal with children, is an issue very close to my heart. Molestation has been on the rise. You know, children are being molested by their fathers, their uncles. As a lawyer who deals with children, give us your input. What has been your observation and what is your advice?
First and foremost is to strongly condemn acts of violence and abuse against women and children that have really been quite prevalent in societies. Every day you peruse through the newspaper and you see even through the media in terms of what is being reported, and it's quite horrific. It's quite weird to see the kind of society that we are living in. The women and children especially are quite vulnerable in society and seek to be subjected to these kinds of beastly acts, and it's totally unwanting completely. There's quite a lot that needs to be done by various stakeholders in seeking to curtail this menace occurring in the society. Recently, we also saw in the newspaper pertaining to like a father, a pastor, somebody who you totally trust, that you think completely would not even go out of their way in respect to committing the kind of act that they did. I think one thing stems up in respect to how we bring up our kids, pertaining to trust, the level of trust and the relation that they have with people, because statistics are even now showing that from a parental homely affair, even fathers are really becoming so much of perpetrators of this kind of acts. There's quite a lot that really needs to be done because this is totally becoming unwanting.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, Njoka, now, your final words, speak to the men.
The root cause of all these problems is because, the people who are perpetrating all these are men. And it is just sad to note that. But I must say that we must know the root cause of the problems. If now the root cause of sexual problems, all these problems that we have, crime and all these, if they are initiated by men and if they are man-made problems, then we should know that it is a high time that we go back to the man and empower the man from the boy child level. What we have done is that we have jumped and empowered the women exclusively, sidelining the man, sidelining the men. And that is why you see all these problems coming up, because we have forgotten to empower the man from the family level. From the family level, even financially, even socially. And that is why we are having these problems. They are rampant. We must go back to the root cause, and the root cause is empowering the man from the boy child level. Then I'm telling you, whether it is crime, whether it is terrorism, whether it is sexual abuses or all that, they will cease because we have started to empower the society from the right angle. From the right angle is from the man
in the home
downwards to the women and to the children. But now we have done it the other way around. That is why we are having a society which is actually
coming apart. Okay.
I think further to that is to actually also say our government basically needs to put up stiffer penalties pertaining to things. I think what we actually have is a bit lenient. And if you remember, for example, like the Sexual Offences Act of 2006 had proposed and had proposed initially when the women were actually saying that we also need to have stiffer penalties pertaining to some of these acts in terms of creating a deterrence theory, so that we can also have some of the men, and I know he will say that this is cruel, that is inhuman, degrading treatment pertaining to what men need to also be done pertaining to that. But that's a story for another day, that the legal machinations and the legal framework needs to be looked at intensively, so that probably there's some amendments to create things that are going to bring up a deterrent.
I really don't agree with you so much.
We don't have much time.
Really, having stiff penalties cannot solve. Let us have rehabilitation centers.
Okay. And that is why you're there, Njoka.
Let us rehabilitate
you're an activist for
because
men.
Convicting someone for life.
That is why you're there. Thank you so much.
Convicting someone for life. Umemsaidia nini?
Sasa, you take that up with the government. And my challenge to you is when you're empowering the men, when they make mistakes, condemn them as well.
We are coming up with a rehabilitation center in
sawa.
A boy brains boy center.
Okay.
That is a rehabilitation center for rescuing boys.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sadiq.
Yes. Interesting debate right there. Pia iko moto imewaka. Kamepick a lot of feedback on Twitter and Facebook as we go on a break. Miss Dean unasema, hey Sadiq, had a mix of yours na pia uko locked onto the show. Big up. Paul Joseph unasema, KTN Tukuza, please play Nisaidie, the new jam by Mercy Delay. Keep your feedback and your requests coming. This is Tukuza Plus.